On the line with us is Andrew Yang. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of Venture for America. He's the author of a new book, The War on Normal People, The Truth About America's Disappearing Jobs and Why Universal Basic Income is Our Future. And perhaps most interesting, he is running for president on the Democratic ticket for 2020. His website, Yang, Y-A-N-G 2020.com. Andrew Yang and his his Twitter handle is Andrew Yang VFA. Andrew, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us. I was reading your book earlier today. In fact, we read it as one of our book reports here on the program. Fascinating stuff. You've really clearly, accurately diagnosed the problem in America, or at least many dimensions of it. What is it that, first of all, universal basic income, why is that a solution to many of the challenges that we're facing, the structural challenges that we're facing in the American workforce and labor force right now? And the follow-on to that will be, and then why base a presidential campaign on that?
Sure. So I spent the last 7 years helping entrepreneurs create jobs and grow businesses throughout the Midwest and the South. And I realized that technology is going to blast away millions of American jobs in addition to the manufacturing jobs that have already been lost, and in my opinion led directly to Donald Trump's election in 2016. If you look at it, we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Iowa, all the swing states that Donald Trump needed to win. And unfortunately, we're about to do the same thing to millions of retail workers. 30% of malls are going to close in the next 5 years. Call center workers, fast food workers, and most disastrously truck drivers. Being a trucker is the most common job in 29 states. My friends in Silicon Valley believe that we are going to be reducing these jobs and other jobs very, very quickly in the next number of years. And so a universal basic income is, to me, the most direct and effective and expedient solution that we can bring to bear that's going to help make this economy work better for millions of Americans.
So let's describe that. A universal basic income means what?
Well, universal basic income is a catch-all label for a policy where every citizen or adult in a society gets a certain amount of money, free and clear, no questions asked, to pay your bills, start a business, go to school, do whatever you want. And so my plan, the Freedom Dividend, would give every American adult ages 18 on up $1,000 a month, free and clear. And people who are listening to this know where a lot of that money would go. It would go to car repairs, child care, tutoring services, the occasional night out, home repairs you've been putting off. That money would get pumped right back into our Main Street economy. It would grow the consumer economy by about 12%. And would create several million jobs around the country. So that, to me, is a sort of dramatic solution that we need to bring to help rebalance the economy, because as you read from my book, the economy has become dangerously unbalanced in favor of big corporations and capital interests.
Now, Milton Friedman actually recommended something like this, back in the day, earned income tax credit, basically a tax credit. This is kind of a variation on the same thing, I suppose. But the critique of the universal basic income is that it's not addressing the actual structural problems with America, that it's not taking on this ownership society, basically capitalism. Richard Wolff, for example, the economist, would say, really the big challenge is having people own their own businesses, is having worker-owned co-ops, things like that. Direct assaults on capitalism itself. What do you think?
Well, I love entrepreneurship. I love cooperative businesses. I love collective ownership. And the best way we can make that happen is by putting buying power into the hands of more Americans, so that people in towns and communities around the country can take cooperative ownership of more of the businesses in their communities. But the tough part, though, is we don't have a time machine. We can't turn the clock back. We can't undo like a lot of what has happened over the last number of decades. And so the best way to get economic buying power into the hands of Americans directly, and this is a frustration I have with many Democrats, where I think many Democrats agree that the economy has gotten out of whack and is not serving people very well. But they still don't trust people. They still don't want to actually put money into people's hands. And so there's this grasping for solutions. It's like, oh, maybe if we put money into education programs or retrading programs like that, that will help solve the problem.
Well, and Republicans will just say if you give people money, they're just going to goof off.
Yeah, which the data does not show that. I mean,
Right.
I'm a very evidence-driven guy. But people who are fans of cooperative ownership models, I'm a fan too. And the best way to make that happen is through something like a universal basic income.
So your presidential campaign, I'm guessing most of our listeners and viewers have never heard of Andrew Yang, or if they have, it's in the context of, Venture for America or your book, The War on Normal People. Why run for president?
Well, if you look at the magnitude of the problems in front of us, where we're in the third inning of the greatest economic and technological transformation in the history of the country, and the third inning has brought us Donald Trump. Our government is literally shut down as we speak. Our institutions are failing right and left, and we do not have a whole lot of time because we are decades behind in addressing these challenges. If you believe my friends in Silicon Valley that we're only 5 to 10 years away from robot trucks hitting the highway, we do not have a lot of time to rewrite the rules of the economy. And so if you were to want to get this done in the next, let's call it, less than 5 years, then your range of options to make it happen are very limited. And running for president struck me as the best approach that would have a reasonable chance of succeeding.
I have your newsletter here, your campaign newsletter that people can get over at yang2020.com. And I spent Friday in New Hampshire visiting the Fossey family in Goffstown, New Hampshire, the recipients of the first Freedom Dividend. I didn't realize, I thought the Freedom Dividend was a proposal. You said that they're actually getting it. Tell me about that. And how's it working out in New Hampshire as you're campaigning for president?
Sure. So as an entrepreneur, you want to put your money where your mouth is. So if I think that Americans getting $1,000 a month would be good for families and individuals, then I should do that. So I had a call with the FEC to make sure that all was kosher, that I could give a gift to individuals and families out of my own pocket. And they said, as long as it's your own money and they're not required to do anything, then have at it. So we identified potential recipients and families in New Hampshire late last year. And then the very beginning of this year, we chose the Fossey family, and they're receiving $1,000 a month. And I'm happy to say they're already feeling like it's relieved stress in their family and that they're positioned to make more of it this year. So I've committed to do the same thing in Iowa. And you're going to love this, Tom. A family in Georgia just said that they want to fund a Freedom Dividend for another family in South Carolina. So Americans love this so much where they realize that $1,000 a month would make a tremendous difference in the lives of millions of Americans, and we can completely afford it. We're the richest and most advanced economy in the history of the world, and our economy is up to $19 trillion, up $4 trillion in the last 10 years alone. So this is eminently affordable. And it's a thrill when I got that message. I mean, imagine hearing from this family in Atlanta that they want to do the same thing.
Does this, though, become the next GoFundMe? I mean, does this just become like a, well, here's one more place that you can get a little bit of help in this economy that just sucks as a consequence of 40 years of Reaganomics?
Well, what I'm proposing is that we do it for every single American. Because if you look at GoFundMe, it's either heartwarming or heartbreaking, depending upon your perspective.
Yep.
Or you have Americans who can't pay medical bills, so they're turning to the community. I mean, that's messed up, truly. And so my plan is not for individuals, just like a handful of people to get the Freedom Dividend.
It's for
everyone.
everyone.
I could afford it for everyone. I
So the question,
Andrew,
and
happen for everybody.
Forgive my interrupting, but we're going to hit a break here in a minute or so. So the Republican mantra, and I'm sure a lot of Democrats too, will be saying, okay, $1,000 a month, that's it's a start. Where's the money going to come from?
Sure. Well, the big change we need to make is right now our income tax system is going to be very, very bad at harnessing the gains from new technologies in the hands of companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook and Uber. So what we need to do is we need to join every other advanced economy and have a value-added tax. And a value-added tax would give the American public a slice of every Amazon transaction and every Google search. And because our economy is now so vast, a value-added tax at even half the European level would generate $800 billion, which, when combined with our existing spending and all the economic growth we'd experience by pumping this money into the economy, and all the savings we would be experiencing on things like emergency room health care and incarceration and homelessness services, a value-added tax is a key to enable us to afford a freedom dividend for every American adult.
And that's why every other developed country in the world has one, it seems. We're talking with Andrew Yang, the entrepreneur, founder of Venture for America, author of The War on Normal People. Andrew, will you keep us up to date on how your campaign is going?
Oh, yeah, and you just got the newsletter, but I have to say, you asked how things are going in New Hampshire. Things are going incredibly well. People understand that this economy is broken, and we have to make it work for us.
That's great.
So, yeah, we'd love to have a conversation with you regularly.
Great. Andrew Yang, yang2020.com is the website. Andrew, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thanks, Don. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Good talking with you. And you too.